Hello and welcome to the Lost Pines Workshop. I'm J.C. Jensen. So you've made the decision to purchase a table saw. That's awesome. As I've said numerous times before, this is my go-to machine. This is by far my favorite tool in the workshop to work on. Why? Well, I can rip material, I can cross-cut material, I can cut material at a bevel or an angle. It's just really, really versatile. So you've made that decision. You've purchased one, regardless of which type, whether it's the little cabinet or the DIY DeWalt benchtop table saw, or you've bought the big, massive cabinet table saw like I have. Doesn't matter. But what blade do we use? Well, when this was originally created, it was designed to rip material, cutting with the grain. But, hey, we figured out that we can do more, right? We can cross cut, we can cut bubbles, we can do all kinds of things, right? So which blade? Well, I carry and utilize four. I have four different types of blades, and each has a specific purpose or task. Does that mean that you have to go buy four blades? No, it does not. The blade that I have mounted in here right now is what they call a combination blade. It can rip material and it can cross cut material. The problem with it is it does an okay job. It doesn't do a great job. For me, that's mostly okay because these days, I'm primarily using my table saw to make the rough cut. I'm just getting close. I'm not trying to get right on. So using a combination blade works out because I'll finish it by going over it with a hand plane or a scraper or whatever I need to get that final perfect edge. All right, so if I am going to rip a piece of material and I want a nice clean cut, well, I buy a rip blade, right? A rip blade, this one is 24 teeth. It's a thin kerf blade, right? So we have a standard kerf, which a kerf means the thickness of the saw cut. The standard kerf is 1/8 of an inch. I'm using a thin kerf blade that's only 3/32. It's about, a little smaller. What does that do for me? Well, a thin kerf blade requires less horsepower to drive the blade. It chews up less material. So if you think about it, every time you make a cut, you lose 1/8 of an inch of wood. Using a thin kerf blade, you lose a little less. So you can keep more of it. The other advantage to this thin kerf blade is the heat and friction generated, right? The thinner the blade, the less heat, the less friction it's going to have while cutting your material. So this is a 24 tooth rip blade. Next, I have a 60 tooth. They also make these in 80. Fine finish cross cut. All right. Next, this is a plywood blade. It's fantastic for cutting OSBs, plywoods, laminates, whatever you want to cut. I don't know how many teeth. This is 200 teeth, right? And then, like I said, I've got a combination blade on here. If you can only afford one blade, get the combination blade. It's going to work just fine for you. But what about brands? Well, look, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I don't get paid for any of my videos or anything that I use. But here's what I'll tell you. Over the years, I have purchased really cheap ones, and I've purchased some really expensive ones. I haven't bought an expensive one in I'll say 10 years. I had two that were about $200 a piece, a rip blade and a crosscut blade. And I used them. The blades got dull. I took them to a guy to get them sharpened, and he ground them wrong. They became paperweights. Off they went in the trash. From that, I went and searched, and I found these. So these are made by Freud. It's got the Diablo signature mark on it. They're made by Freud. These are really good blades, and they're inexpensive. They're available at your local retail outlets usually, as well as online. Get them wherever. These are the cheaper ones. There's nothing wrong with them. They work fabulously, especially these red coated ones. This is a non-stick coating that they put on it, so you'll get less buildup on it, less friction, and thus cleaner cuts. So there you have. The last thing that I have that I'll talk about, if you're going to do a lot of rabbets or dados, a dado stack, right? I've got two. I've got an old one made by the same company, and then I've got this DeWalt set. They work equally well. So which one do you need? Again, if all you can afford is the one, get the combination. If you're going to do a lot of cross cutting, you want nice clean cuts on your cross cuts, get a 60 or 80 tooth crosscut blade. It says on here what they do at the store. If you're going to do a lot of ripping and you want a nice clean rip, get a rip blade. This one's 24 teeth. And then if you're going to do a lot of sheet goods, I really recommend one that's designed for sheet goods. These guys will do it. They'll do sheet goods, but it's about quality. What quality of cut do you want? Choose the right saw blade, make your cut. Have a wonderful time. If you like this video, please remember to hit that like button and think about subscribing. There's more videos on the way. Thanks. We'll see you down the road.